Hello, everyone. I'm Tanya Rivero. Thank you for joining us. We begin this hour with some potentially good news in America's race to vaccinate. Johnson and Johnson's long-awaited vaccine appears to protect against COVID-19 with just one shot. Although it is not as strong as its competitors, the shots are about 85% effective against the most severe coronavirus cases. Another advantage is the vaccine can be stored in regular refrigerators. It doesn't require sub-zero freezers. The company is expected to apply for emergency use as soon as next week. This comes as one of the new, more contagious strains of the virus has turned up in the U.S. for the first time. 2 people in South Carolina tested positive for the variant, which was first identified in South Africa. The virus continues to run rampant across the U.S. Nearly 26 million people have been infected here since the beginning of the pandemic. The virus has killed more than 433,000. That is roughly the population of Oakland, California. CBS News correspondent Mola Lenghi reports.
The need to vaccinate as many Americans as possible is more urgent than ever as the variant of COVID-19 first identified in South Africa has now been found in the U.S. It was detected in 2 people from South Carolina, from separate parts of the state.
There is no known travel history, and there is no known connection between the 2 cases.
With highly contagious variants reported in at least 28 other states, officials should think carefully before relaxing COVID restrictions, warns Dr. Ashish Jha.
By mid to late March, these variants will be quite common and dominant in the United States. We could see huge spikes in cases, large spikes in hospitalizations and deaths.
And the slow vaccination process could make things worse.
The longer we take, the more there are going to be opportunities for variants that could become even more dangerous, more lethal, more contagious, or just escape our vaccines altogether.
So far, the currently authorized slate of vaccines remain effective on all known strains, though preliminary findings suggest they may offer reduced protection against the variant originally detected in South Africa. But the work to understand these new strains and their interactions with existing treatments is well underway. Earlier this month, we visited Dr. Dan Baru, the director of the Center for Virology and Vaccine Research in Boston.
If the vaccine is not as effective on the new variant, what then?
Well, fortunately, the first 2 vaccines that we have here in the United States have proven to be highly, highly effective. In the worst case scenario, then vaccines might need to be updated.
And companies have already started working on those updates. Both Moderna and Pfizer have started developing booster shots for the South African variant of the virus. Mola Lenghi, CBS News, Queens, New York.
Let's bring in Dr. Annette Reboli now. She's a professor of medicine and dean of Cooper Medical School of Rowan University. Dr. Reboli, welcome. Great to see you. I want to start with the new variant detected in South Carolina. Eli Lilly's CEO told Face the Nation moderator Margaret Brennan in her new Facing Forward podcast that the U.S. is not fully prepared for a new COVID-19 strain. Do you agree with this assessment? And should people be concerned this variant could begin to run rampant nationwide?
I think that people should be very concerned. There are 3 variants that are being monitored and tracked at this time. And they're named for the geographic locations where they come from. The UK variant probably is the most widespread right now, or known to be widespread, including in the United States, the Brazilian variant, and then the South African variant that was just reported to be seen in South Carolina. But because of the testing limitations right now, this represents the tip of the iceberg. So the fact that you're seeing 2 cases in South Carolina spread apart geographically, no travel history to South Africa, means that there are many, many more cases. So with regard to preparedness, I think that we need to keep our vigilance. We need to continue to support good measures, the masking, the hand hygiene, the distancing, being very careful about what we open and don't open, keeping all of these measures in place. In the meantime, we also, though, have some good news with additional vaccines coming on the horizon.
Yes, this is very, very good news. Although I just want to get back to the variant for a second. The South Africa variant being discovered in South Carolina, as you said, is worrisome because these two individuals had no travel history. So that means it's likely it's already out there. Is it possible for these variants, though, to pop up on their own? In other words, the virus is always mutating. Could it possibly mutate identically in two different areas?
So mutational events are always happening with viruses in general, and certainly with these coronaviruses. In fact, very early in the pandemic, there was a mutational event that led to the current strain that is widespread in the United States. Similarly, in California, the same type of thing has happened, where there's a variant which makes up about 40% of the isolates in LA County. These mutational events are common, but it's interesting when they match something that started out in another location exactly. So yes, they could happen spontaneously in a location. It's more likely that there is an element of community spread, and we'll probably never know exactly how this started appearing in South Carolina. But I think that all of these variants are much more widespread than the numbers portray.
Uh-oh. All right, so now to the good news, the vaccines. Novavax says its vaccine is about 89% effective overall. But unfortunately, when it was tested in South Africa, it was only about 49% effective. Of course, we should note the study was performed by the company on its own drug. It was not peer-reviewed. But Moderna announced a similar result this week, saying that, yes, its vaccine is effective, but less so against this variant first found in South Africa. Why is this the case? I was under the assumption that all of these vaccines were being produced with this new technology that was very easy to manipulate when it came to mutations of the virus.
So you're correct that the technology, so first of all, the technology is different for the Novavax vaccine than for the Moderna and the Pfizer. The Moderna and the Pfizer are both messenger RNA, and they are easy to adjust. So hence the concept of developing these booster doses that folks may need to address these variants. And I think that is very encouraging that these could be easily adjusted. But the adjustment has to happen in the pharmaceutical company's laboratory. It is not happening with the initial release of these vaccines. So it's an issue of keeping abreast of these mutations, finding out what they mean. And you're absolutely right. Now, as we look at the data, one caveat with this is that, yes, it's disappointing that the efficacy is less. I would, though, point to some encouraging things. The high efficacy for prevention of severe disease, first and foremost. And that will save lives, save hospitalizations, et cetera, and have an impact. So the fact that a vaccine has less efficacy, now we were very lucky that the initial vaccines had 94, 95% efficacy. It is not unusual to see these vaccines coming up with lesser efficacy. This is interim data. You still may see changes. These trials are still open, including the clinical trial for the Novavax vaccine in the United States. So we'll still await additional data on them. The EUA, the emergency use authorization, will come into effect for any vaccine that has over 50% efficacy. So these will still save lives and prevent, the situation as soon as they're released. So getting them approved and released becomes very important. I think the fact that Moderna and others are already working on booster-type vaccines to address these variants is also important. And the fact that they're being tracked right now, these variants throughout the United States. Interestingly, the response for the UK variant seems very, very strong. The efficacy seems very, very good at this point in time. But keeping up with these is essential for our public health officials to do that.
Absolutely. And doctor, I just want to pivot to the Johnson and Johnson vaccine. It has an 85% efficacy rate against the most serious cases, which, may not be as high as the Moderna and the Pfizer, but is also very, very good, especially considering it's a single dose. And a lot easier than to roll it out. So what are your thoughts on the J&J option in comparison to Moderna and Pfizer's?
So I think that each of these vaccines will have a special role to play. So the early ones had some logistics issues, the ultra cold or freezer, 2 doses. Single dose certainly has a benefit, and also the fact that they don't have to be frozen or ultra frozen as well. I think that is an advantage. That could help get vaccine to areas that don't have the capability to keep these frozen. So when you talk about this difference in efficacy, though, the only way to really know is to compare the 2 vaccines head to head, and we are not seeing that.
Right.
So it's tough to say that 94%, while it sounds better than 89%, it may not actually be a relevant issue that comes up. I think these vaccines, even the ones that seem to have lesser efficacy, will play a role in getting people vaccinated. And that is the key right now, to get people vaccinated as quickly as possible. Let's get this vaccine out, as we say, get shots in arms.
That's right. Absolutely. Well, Dr. Annette Reboli, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.